Welcome back to the new home of hyperroll TFT content on YouTube, our Tark's channel. Remember to please subscribe, comment, like, do all of the good stuff that helps the YouTube algorithm so the video can spread and all of that stuff. Maybe we can get as big as the previous channel. Again, I'll tell the whole story at some point down the line. Now is not the time. Now, if you clicked on the thumbnail and read the title or did anything like that, you know where this is headed. But that wasn't necessarily my plan when I started. I just grabbed whatever I wanted off the bench because I'm sort of still in the experimenting mode of hyperroll at this point. So I grab something off the bench, see what it gives me, and then make a decision from there. And at this point, the game is being really non-committal. As we get a little further into the NPC round, I get a volley bear, I get a second volley bear, I get a Kiana. And at this point, I'm thinking of a comment made by Amie Song, our very first subscriber to this channel, who said, try Dragonmancer, Tempest, so many carry points, Lee Sin, volley bear, Kaisa. So I pick up Three's Company just to see what I get, and yeah, the decision is made. So Amie, this one is for you. Now notice I am not rolling early, and the reason is I'm after mostly 2 and 3 costs, and there is no point in rolling when you have a 0% chance of 3 costs and you're mostly going to pick up 1 costs. Items are going to be tricky because it's going to depend on who is the ultimate carry. I decide to grab the BF sword because I can work that into Lee Sin, Volley Bear, or Ao Shin if it gets that far. It can either be an Infinity Edge for Lee Sin, a Spear of Sojin for Ao Shin, or a Bloodthirster for Volley Bear. And even though I'm starting off with 3 cost champions and a couple of synergies, they're just not that strong yet, so I'm expecting to lose early, but I feel like if it all works out, it's going to pay off big time later on. In between rounds, we found ourselves a Kaisa and an additional Volley Bear without rolling too much. So at least now we have a silver 2-star champion who can hold us up. So maybe it's time for the losing to stop and we can at least hold in place while we try to get the rest of our team together. So again, with items, I do not know for sure who the carry is going to be. I decide to go with the needlessly large rod because again, it will fit with everyone. It can work in with Volley Bear, Lee Sin, or Ao Shin, depending on who my carry is going to be. I'm not thinking Kaisa as a carry right at this moment because it just doesn't look like she's going to get up to the 3 stars necessary. Now that we have a couple of 2-star champions, we are in a better place. Volley Bear is able to actually do significant damage after he ults as his attacks chain from person to person. Kaisa in the back is able to get off enough damage to keep things going, and Kiana is disarming and holding people back. It's not necessarily a wallop, but it's a win. For the second augment, we get the prismatic level, and nothing here does exactly what I want it to do. So we're going to take our shot and roll and hope something really cool pops up. And we can do this with a Tempest crown because this will give us an additional Tempest and finally give us our 2-star Lee Sin since we had only had the 1-star and then the one on the bench, so we get an additional Lee Sin, and now we can create another Tempest, which at this moment will go onto Volley Bear. With our Lee Sin now up at 2 stars in this, heading into a Tempest direction, we're going to make a little swap and see if we can now commit over to Lee Sin. He will now become the Dragonmancer and we'll give him the Hand of Justice to give him just a little bit of healing and extra power. And while I've momentarily settled on Lee Sin, I'm not completely committed. If I was, I would go ahead and put the Infinity Edge or the Jeweled Gauntlet onto him, but I want to see exactly which way this is going to go. But you can see this is fairly strong. That little bit of extra healing is going to help keep Lee alive as he kicks things away, which gives enough time for Kaisa to fire off her missiles and finish things off. The plethora of items I got from the NPC round really made it all clear. I now had everything I needed for the Infinity Edge and Jeweled Gauntlet combination on Lee Sin. I could go ahead then and pick up the needlessly large rod as I plan to ultimately go for an Ao Shin to finish this off. I've also picked up the Ezreal, so now I'm running 4 Tempest, 4 Dragonmancers. And anyone who has had the misfortune of playing against this combo, you know just how annoying it can be, with Lee just kicking things out of the way and killing them pretty darn quickly. Dragonmancer is pretty close to the same as last season, with you getting additional health and ability power for the Dragon Blessed champ. In this case, it's Lee Sin with a guaranteed crit every time he kicks someone, and as you can see, it's quite devastating. It's time for our final augment, and any one of these could work in different ways. Battle Mage would make Lee more powerful up front. The Dragonmancer crest could allow us to go to 6, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I decide instead to go with scoped weapons so that we can move everyone back into those back 2 lines, get some additional attack distance and attack speed. And if it isn't clear already, you will see how ridiculous this build is once it gets rolling. We have a Shyvana with a Dragon's Claw drop in on us and breathe fire directly onto Lee Sin. He says, "Get out of here and stop annoying me." He then says it again and finishes off their entire team. And it is now Treasure Dragon time, and I'm thinking about Ao Shin items. I want a BF sword so I can create a Hextech Gunblade, but I'm not in love with the Shroud of Reverence. So I decide to go ahead and take a chance, get another BF sword, but again, I don't necessarily want the Mora Melicon. So we're going to keep refreshing and hope we can get something that will work. A sword is very important. And then I get this with the Fist of Fairness and also some loaded die. That's going to allow me to potentially create the 3-star Lee Sin that I really want in this match. I use Rakan to hold on to the Fist of Fairness for now, because ultimately he is out of here, and it's time to start using our loaded die on Lee Sin and see what we can get. We get a couple more, so now we just need 3 more Lee Sins. We can go ahead and put out Graves, because presuming we can get Ao Shin, that will give us the 8 full Tempest that I would like to. So for the moment, we have Rakan holding everything for Ao Shin, and we go into the next round. We run into a team that is going to be very hard to beat. This is also a popular combination right now. It uses Guild, Cavaliers, Rage Wings, Swift Shots, but they've managed to turn Zippy into a Cavalier, which is going to give him a ton of additional armor and magic resist and make it really tough to beat. We're still on top of the board and we're hoping to stay there, and we really want 3-star Lee Sin, but we only get 1 out of that roll. We're also looking for Ao Shin so that we can go up to the 8 Tempest. Since we are so close, we're going to keep rolling. We just need 1 more Lee Sin to gold. There it is. Now there is one more change I want to make. I am not planning on keeping Rakan in this game. It's going to be Ao Shin. So I'm going to take this opportunity to use my magnetic remover after this round is done and switch the Fist of Fairness onto Lee Sin instead of the regular old Hand of Justice. Since he's my 3-star, I want him with the most powerful items possible. For here, it really doesn't matter what I do, but I can go ahead and grab the Chalice of Power, and that way, if and when I get my Ao Shin, I will be able to put something in between to give it more AP. At 3 stars gold with this item combination, it really seems unfair. Just watch how much damage he's doing individually as he destroys things, and then the overall damage charts, which is pretty much just Lee Sin. And try as I might, I was not able to find an Ao Shin in between rounds. I decided to instead go for a Soraka just so I can get some additional healing and allow myself more time in the match. Lee Sin is holding up pretty well, but not necessarily against a 2-star Shyvana with the Dragon's Claw, Archangel Staff, and Bramble Vest. That is enough to take me down, but puts us into the top 4. And I can now go hunting for my Ao Shin. And while my original plan was to get rid of Rakan and also ultimately Soraka, To make room for Aoshin, that's kind of changed because a 2-star Soraka is going to heal me for 2. So now I'm going to give up that 4th Dragonmancer in return for now having a 2-star Soraka. Soraka is going to heal for 2 in every player combat, and that will make a huge difference as we're playing this match out. For the final item, dare I say, it doesn't matter. We can just go ahead and pick up the Zephyr so we can pull one of their champions off the board. Our goal is going to be to make Aoshin really strong, make sure Soraka gets off her cast so that we get our 2 health. So she's basically just going to be the I'm going to Zephyr you and I'm going to empower the people next to me. Our first contestant will be the incredibly strong guild team with that super powerful Cavalier Zippy. This one concerns me because they got Zippy up to 3 stars. But how is a 3-star Zippy going to deal with getting kicked around by Lee Sin, and what happens when Aoshin casts? Oh yeah, back to full health, and Lee Sin can finish them off. Contestant number 2 is an Astral Mage team with an Aurelian Soul and tons of 3-star champions. And that Bard is going to be able to stop a large part of our team, but not necessarily Aoshin's cast, which holds everything down long enough for Lee Sin to just finish it off and still lead the damage charts. It's now down to us versus the team with the 3-star Zippy Cavalier with fantastic items. Getting that Zippy into the backline can do some amazing things, and while the Tempest cast seems to hold them off for a moment, it's not enough for Aoshin to finish it off, and we take the hit. But notice I had locked for the 2-star Aoshin. Will that be enough to change the entire equation? Now we're going to go ahead and move some things around, especially since we are getting additional range. I want the champions I absolutely want to keep in the back line. So Lee Sin is now going into the back line. Not normally a backline champion, but we have additional range with our augments. So we can stand back there. The key will also be Aoshin casting. When the Tempest kicks in, it's going to freeze their whole team for long enough. It allows Aoshin to cast and pretty much wipe them out, but it's Lee Sin who's going to come in with the big kick that puts that 3-star Zippy down and helps us finish off the match. GG. Hope everyone enjoyed the video, but especially Amie, since this one was for you based on your suggestion. Everyone have an absolutely awesome day.